I do believe we are live. We are live. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is George Howard. I'm a professor of music business management at Berklee, and really excited to be joined with some of my colleagues and students to talk about RAIDAR. Before we dive in, I want to thank all the organizers who have worked so hard on this event. I have some idea of, hey, Alex, have some idea of how difficult it is to put on events like this in the best of circumstances, and this is certainly not that. But I applaud everyone for the effort and making this run smoothly. It's really a testament to the commitment of Berklee and Berklee students and faculty to keep leading the way as we try to redefine what life looks like in a kind of post-COVID and during COVID landscape. I want to start with just a little bit of background on RAIDAR. It's really Thomas, myself, and Nicole Davies, who's not on this, who at a certain point through OMI just decided that we really needed to start building something. And I have to give the credit to Thomas. He somehow took my insane drawings on a whiteboard in a conference room in LA and said, yeah, we can do this. And then it's been an absolute honor not just to learn and work from Thomas about so many things, but to take this to a stage where we've been able to hand it over to students to a large degree. The work that Meghan has done is Herculean in nature, and getting the site live and doing it with I don't think I've ever seen you lose your cool. So that's pretty amazing. And then Aletta, a fine student and composer, has just been able to go out and rally the troops and the students to get involved with this. I'll let them each introduce themselves a little bit. But just as the overview, we at Berklee believe that there needs to be more transparency and interoperability among music licensing generally, and the music business generally, and music licensing specifically. And so the idea that we can create something that allows Berklee students and alumni to have their work licensed initially for student films, and hopefully for a lot more other things, to become a platform for them to continue to build their careers on their own terms, is something that I think is truly something like a revolutionary product. But excited to talk about it with you all here, introduce it to you all, but then really hoping that everyone on the Valencia campus, students, alums, etc., and anybody who's watching this will get involved. We'll put links in the chat here to where and how you can get involved. With that, I'll turn it over to Thomas to introduce himself, and if you want to say a few words about the project, that'd be great.
Sure. So Thomas Hardjono, I'm a research director at MIT with a group there called Connection Science. I think when George and I were working on this on the whiteboard, I think we truly sort of arrived at this point where we realized that although we like to build all this cool stuff like blockchains and smart contracts, and geeks, nerds tend to want to jump there quick, but what we realized quickly was that there was no common foundation of metadata about music, right? So if you guys know a little bit about programming, programs hate ambiguity, right? They cannot be multiple choices, that creates ambiguity. And so in this case, we need a license for every composition or music piece, something that's authoritative, that is not tied to ownership, right? So what I've been saying, maybe imprecisely, creation fact, that the fact that this composition was written, last year by Meghan, and there's evidence. It doesn't need to say, who owns the licenses or the rights today. It just means that it's like a library of factual information. So that's kind of where we started with RAIDAR.
Yeah, and from that inception point, it's been a real kind of labor of love to bring it to fruition. But a big part of getting there, or I can safely say, it would never have gotten there, but for Meghan's work. So Meghan, maybe you can just talk about the process and the underlying kind of motivation for your involvement, and how you kind of build it, and some of the ethos behind it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, George. Pamela and Pablo, good to see you both in the chat. So I'm a Berklee Valencia alum. I graduated last summer, and then I moved to Boston to be a Berklee fellow. And that's really when I started getting involved in the RAIDAR project. And what I love about it is that it's really a student-led initiative. I mean, we get the masterful input from George and Thomas and Nicole and other collaborators at MIT. Super helpful. It's great. But, you know, Aletta has done a huge part of getting students involved. I've built a lot of the code, and we've sought out like user feedback from Lesley University, which is a local school here in Boston that is helping us iterate on our design and just building a product that people will actually use. So that's been really great. And yeah, I joined as a software developer. I built with a team of a couple other people the alpha product that we launched last November to the Open Music Initiative. And then we're hoping to release our next version, our beta version, before the fall semester starts so that Berklee students can get involved.
Hoping?
We will. We will be. Thank you, Dr.
And thank you. And yeah, as I say, the work that you've done is just unbelievably great. And then a huge part of this for me was where I knew that we had something was when talking with students and just seeing their enthusiasm kind of rise, and just from a bottoms up, just we want to get involved. And the kind of leading edge of a lot of that has been Aletta, and it's been so great to watch the way Aletta's not only gotten involved, but it's also great because she is a fantastic composer. We can post the video that has some of your music in it, but maybe if you could just kind of give a little bit of background on yourself, Aletta, what drew you to this and why you think it's important from a student composer perspective to understand it.
Yeah, thank you, George. Hi, Pamela. Hi, Joseph. I see you in the chat. So I am originally a composer, film composer. I like to tell people stories and help to enforce emotions through music. And when I got involved when I heard about RAIDAR, it was amazing because it took all of the student works, and even though maybe your music isn't put into a film, maybe you wrote it for a class, you can put it onto this platform and people will hear it, they will license it, and they will put it in their movies. And that collaboration for me is amazing. So to bring the team together, as I said, I'm really interested in storytelling and listening to people's stories, where they come from, what they do. And that my background in composing and analyzing films has given me a lot of opportunity to study people and how they communicate. So to bring different people's stories together to form the team and to form this purpose of this is what RAIDAR is, and we love it. This is the different people's stories that connect in with it. And like together we are more, and together we are, we can really tell the story of RAIDAR.
So let me try to distill the story of RAIDAR down for thank you, Aletta, for those who might not be familiar with it. The way it operates is that if you are a Berklee student or a Berklee alum, and you have the rights to your songs, and you need to be both the songwriter as well as the performer. So if you're a Berklee student or alum and you've got music that's already been created or music that you'd like to create, you can now, I believe, Meghan, please chime in if you want, but certainly very soon, upload that music to this database. You then go and you tag the songs with descriptors, and as Aletta and Meghan alluded to, right now Lesley University, which is a very well regarded art school in Boston with a great film program, their licensing works in from Berklee students and alum. We will soon be rolling it out via Open Music Initiative to other what Thomas and I would call top of stack institutions that also want to use Berklee students' works and license it, and so that will be more film schools. Soon thereafter, VR studios, independent VR studios, game studios, health, etc. We believe in expanding the market. Maybe Meghan, you or Thomas could talk about functionally or transactionally how that's going to work so that students have transparency or line of sight on their licenses. I don't know if you want to talk about blockchain or how that plays into this.
Meghan, go ahead.
Yeah, so when you upload your song, we'll basically track it on a blockchain and have a record of it so that we can keep track of the metadata that you inputted and make sure that it stays continuous no matter where that song travels to in its journey from, your upload to being placed into films at any stage.
Which is an important point, because in terms of tracking the authenticity, the ownership of works, it's been a bugaboo, to say the least, of the music business. Did we lose Thomas? I wanted to ask him about. No, we can't see you guys, but I think we can hear you still.
Okay.
So Thomas, could you talk about the importance and rationale and interoperability of blockchains, how this might scale out, and what you see kind of future holding?
Sure. So the RAIDAR platform provides a unique identifier for every musical work that's registered there, whether it's sound recording, actual composition information. And by having a unique identifier, this identifier can be used in other blockchain systems. And for example, if I wrote a composition and somebody in say in Asia, in Japan, wants to license it, and but they demand that I get paid on their blockchain, it doesn't affect RAIDAR, because it's going to use this identifier when we do the business deal, let's say. So we're talking about the same identifier. I think it's 32 bits of whatever the hash of the metadata file is, and so this allows greater interoperability, because then other if I had the same deal with guys in Europe, they want to use their own blockchain, right? So suddenly, for the same one metadata, you have this different uses in different parts of the world, and therefore allows this metadata to be interoperable, because everyone's talking about the same one, right? There's no duplicate. People are not like making copies, right? There's one authoritative. Now people can read and make copies of the metadata. That's fine for their own use, but the authoritative version is the metadata that's uploaded by the creator when the creator, the student, made it, a year ago, I said last year.
So the ownership stays and remains with the author. A couple of questions coming in, yes, which is great. The blockchain technology that we're using, what are we using, Meghan or Thomas, as our blockchain?
So right now it's Hyperledger.
Yes.
Because for a good reason, that is that the source code for Hyperledger is licensed. If you guys know what open source software is, it's licensed under MIT license or Apache license. It's compatible, which means you can go off and use it, modify it, run it without any obligation, legally or otherwise, or morally, to the foundation. That's the whole point of the Linux Foundation, if you guys know what Linux. And so by doing that, other people can use the same software, elsewhere, right, with high degree of interoperability. Now we're open. The way RAIDAR is created, it doesn't preclude other. If somebody wants to, use Ethereum, great. They're most welcome to do that.
Another question here: does it have to be a exclusive track on RAIDAR, or can it go to the DSPs? No, it does not have to be exclusive. So the way this works is these songs would be licensed in a non-exclusive manner. So if I'm a film maker or I'm a video game developer, I would have the non-exclusive license to use it in my works, but it wouldn't preclude you as the composer to licensing it elsewhere. And in fact, I can envision a future in which RAIDAR could be an aggregator to, in a much more authoritative way, get student works into the DSPs. So is the licensing deal direct between creators? Right, exactly. Great point, Christelle. If I'm pronouncing that right, no, you will set the terms as a creator, and then the deal is between you and the user. The platform does not currently get a share. Obviously, we need to be sustainable. We're working on that, but right now we're trying to get to proof of concept. Aletta, you as a composer now. What is the significance in terms of creating new opportunities to get your works out there? I mean, what other alternatives would you be using absent a RAIDAR to try to get your work used in film and TV?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to get the relationships with the film students. So right now we're all locked in our little rooms creating by ourselves. And to get connected with someone across the world is really hard. Reaching out to students or independent film companies to hear if they want music, and they always say yes. But to get that first connection of saying, hi, this is me, this is what I do, is very hard. And with RAIDAR, we have that. You have that connection. People can listen to your music and they can see, oh, I really love this.
It's a great point, and Meghan, maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the design process that you, Nicole, and I did in terms of getting close to the customers and trying to understand what, for instance, the filmmakers want, because as is so often the case with innovation, you start with a thesis and you think, okay, this is what the customer wants, but we actually took the time to go and listen to them. So what were some of your observations?
That was really interesting. We built the platform as musicians, and so we're like, yeah, of course you search for music by BPM or by genre.
Or name of song.
Yeah, exactly, name of the song. And we took it to the film students, and they were like, how do I say just the film genre? And we were like, wow, we didn't even think about that. Yes, of course you would want to search for songs by film genre. So it was an imperative part of the design process, and I think it made the platform a lot stronger than it would have been if we hadn't done that kind of user research. Another thing that they wanted to search for was just tags like feudal Japan, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll put tags in, of course. That's a way more flexible way to search than BPM or song name. So
yeah, and that kind of being close to the customer, the number one thing that the customers, and when I say customers, I mean the people who will be licensing the music and for films, the number one thing that they said that they wanted to know, I never would have guessed in a million years. And then in hindsight, it's so obvious. They wanted to know if the song had vocals or not, right? Yeah. Which again, if you're not, this is why it's so important as an entrepreneur to come at things without too many fixed assumptions. And Thomas, I mean, you and I have lived through X number of years of OMI talking about standards and metadata. And I've just been saying as loud as I can that standards follow transactions, not the other way around. So a big part of the vision of RAIDAR is let's allow the customers to start teaching the system. Can you talk about that a little bit, maybe with respect to something like the way Sabre and other databases kind of learn from the two-sided market?
Sure. So if we look at RAIDAR as the foundational layer, the applications that use RAIDAR shouldn't really care about how the internals of RAIDAR is implemented, right? We define APIs, and I said we have unique identifiers for the metadata itself, and so this allows different applications to use it, and also it allows new interesting ideas about how to quote monetize licenses. So we've been talking, for example, for a couple of years now. Is there some way for a license or rights to be split 10 ways and tokenize, right? So let's say, Aletta writes this, amazing piece of music, and it's worth $10 million street value. And Aletta says, well, you know what? I'm going to split it 10 ways and sell, 9 shares of it. So that's a higher level application. A lot of people are interested in that, around the world, but it's not going to work until we have this foundational standardized layer where everybody's referring to the same work and the same license. Even the licenses need identifiers. But that's kind of the vision that once we have this uniform layer, applications, plain boring or futuristic like tokenization, they can start using RAIDAR for interesting applications.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. The music industry, ironically, tends not to be very innovation centric. It tends to be very kind of a late adopter, and the problem with that is that we miss out on marketing trends. We miss out on opportunities. TikTok, VR, Peloton. There's all sorts of opportunities that the music industry has largely missed out on. And so we're trying to kind of lead with a value of innovation and testing and customer centric. So Aletta, maybe you want to take this question that came in. Can the platform pitch to creators? If a film studio is looking for a specific genre, for example, or a song without vocals. So how have we kind of thought that through? And if you want to take that.
Yeah, so the first iteration of the platform will not include this. But we have gotten a lot of questions. If I put my video up, who will you write music for it? And that's not entirely what we're going for here. We're going from this is the music, and then from there you have different categories that you can search from.
But the system is, again, we're trying to, the analogy that I always use is, the Sabre database, which powers travel. The airlines and the car rental places and hotels put their data up there, and then other applications on top, whether it's Kayak or Hitmonk or they just try to provide new ways for others to tap into that. So what happens is the industry starts to learn from it. So, unless and until the music industry really begins to expand out into new realms of licensing, I think we should all be very aware that artists are going to have an increasingly hard time making money just from kind of the DSPs. So we're at a stage now, Meghan, where we want to start getting people to hook into the database. Can you give a general update on just kind of where we are with APIs? Because where my head is on this is open music initiatives should be the kind of gatekeepers, but the value should be, how will your company that's licensing music from Berklee students and alums help them create careers and sustain careers on their own terms?
Yeah, we've had that sort of in mind for the whole building process, luckily. So we've been making sure that our API has really accessible endpoints to create songs and add metadata and update them later, and it hooks all into the blockchain. And it's kind of a cool, example that we've gone through to build RAIDAR on top of that API, because we've gotten to massage it and improve it along the way and say, if I was someone building a top level application, what kind of endpoints would I need in that API? So we've not only built the API, but we've also done sort of one trial of using it. And so I think in the near future, we will absolutely be releasing it to others to hook into and build their own applications on top.
Great. Well, I think we're about out of time, and I echo Nicole that this has been very much an entire team, from Berklee students like Joseph and Pamela, as well as Chandler. I don't know if he's viewing this, just could not have done this. And of course, Panos Panay and his vision early on. This has been a real pleasure. Any last words or calls to action from anybody on the chat here before we
so if you're a composer or you have a songwriter, then please go to this link. You can upload your music today, and then when the project goes live, then you will be up there and people can start licensing your music.
Anyone else? Any questions from anyone watching? Thank you all so much for the time and for listening. I hope that some of you that see this either now or on the recording do get involved. We're going to build this out. We're going to change things for the better, and we're going to find a way not only to help artists create sustainable careers and build a platform, but also to I think change the music industry in the way that it operates. We have to lead with values here now more than ever. It's obvious to anyone who's been paying attention that musicians generally are underrepresented, and certainly musicians of color and women have historically been underrepresented, and a lot of that has been as a result of kind of intentional information asymmetries that have kept people down. Thank you for the shout out to the ENA podcast. Lots of resources out there. Thank you all very much. Please get involved. Panelists, thank you. It's an honor to work with you all.
Thank you.
Bye.